From Monza and Brands Hatch, we move to Paul Ricard for the third race weekend in the 2019 GT4 European Series. Race 1 about to get underway. Welcome to a gloriously hot and sunny Paul Ricard. The pit lane will be opening in a moment to release the cars out onto the circuit in anticipation of this first 60-minute race. Mandatory pit stops, driver changes, and another huge field of cars good to go racing. We have well over 40 of them, and we are in for a great spectacle around this circuit, with the pit window being between 25 and 35 minutes and a mandatory pit stop for every car that comes to be 1 minute and 45 seconds for everybody during the course of the race. The grid, as I say, will be taking shape very shortly. We've got the competition going on in AM, in Pro-Am and in the Silver Cup, and the amount of different brands that we have on the grid continues to amaze. They'll go pouring out of the pit lane in a moment. We'll pick up one or two as they head round to the grid with 10 minutes to go before the start of the formation lap. It's going to be an Aston Martin, the new style Aston Martin, on pole position of Matty George. He and his co-driver, his teammate James Holder, have been running the earlier spec car for the last couple of events, and that means they've been in the invitation class. Well, now it's a fully up to spec, homologated new generation GT4 Aston Martin Vantage, and with great pace it will line up on the front of the grid with Ricardo van der Ende's BMW M4 for company. At the back of the grid is Tom Wood's Aston Martin. That had a fuel pickup problem in the qualifying session today, so didn't really get a proper lap in. We've got former Grand Prix driver Christian Danner on the grid as well. It is another of those entries that is rich in driver ability, and as the cars now thread their way round onto the grid very shortly, we will be able to get things underway. The grid ready to be formed, and you'll see then as the cars all power out of the pit road. So you have the Chevrolet, you've got the Alpines, you've got Aston Martins and BMWs aplenty, and with the drivers having had a pretty hectic weekend with free practice yesterday, with the qualifying sessions this morning as well, a lot of track time is served up, but then at least they get a break after this, because race 2 comes up tomorrow, so they had a little bit of time to spare, but not a huge amount. So the cars, you can see, come onto the Mistral straight. Now, for the majority of the classes this weekend, they will use the chicane Nord, so halfway down the straight, heavy braking, and then you turn through the left and the right, and then back onto the Mistral straight, ready to come powering down towards Senior. There is Aston Martin 017. That's the car that Pascal Bachmann shares with Clement Seiler, who was pretty impressive at Brands Hatch last time out in his first full season of car racing. Clement Seiler, Pascal Bachmann moving from a rally background into circuit racing this season. Going up through Senior, this formation lap yet to get underway. This is just the installation lap, everybody pouring out of the pit lane, and a last opportunity to get a little bit of track knowledge before we go racing. And as soon as the grid is formed, the countdown will be underway. Matt George, then the British driver on pole position. Ricardo van der Ende, hugely successful single-seater driver before he switched to GT4 a few years ago, and he's not had a great deal of luck this year, but could well be one to watch over the course of this race. Then on the third rank of the grid, you've got one of the impressive newcomers this year, which is Alec Udell in another of the BMW M4s, and then lining up alongside him is Mads Siljehaug. So as the cars thread out there from the approach to Virage du Camp up towards Saint-Baume, you see the great variety with the KTM, Mercedes, and this fairly gentle installation lap now, bringing the cars round onto the Mistral straight and then up to the grid, ready for the countdown to get underway. As far as the championship is concerned, we've got the situation within Pro-Am, the Am and the Silver Cups. Within the Silver Cup, Dan Mackay and Benjamin Lessin are the leaders on 73 points. Jan Kissiel and Max Kobold second on 57, and Reinhard Koffler and Patrick Niederhauser third on 52. As far as the other categories are concerned, the Am class currently being led by Pascal Bachmann and Clement Seiler with 76 points. They're 10 ahead of Lisette Brahms, who's had different co-drivers across the first 2 events, and then third, Eric Mouet and David Loger with one of the increasingly popular Alpines. And then within the Pro-Am competition, you have Lucky Trefts and Marcus Pavarud 19 points up on Mario Sug and Gabriele Piana, with Alain Fete and Gregoire de Moustier currently third in the class. So that is how the championship looks as the cars thread up towards the grid now. And when they've slotted into place, we'll get the countdown underway. Matt George then the man for pole position. Onto pole position will go this, as I say, new style Aston Martin. And as the cars head into position, the countdown underway. Matt George and Ricardo van der Ende at the front of the grid. It was a dominant display by McLaren in the opening weekend of the championship at Monza, but then a little bit more variety crept in at Brands Hatch. So Dan Mackay and Benjamin Lesseaume winning both races in Italy. At Brands we had one win for the KTM of Reinhard Koffler and Patrick Niederhauser, and then in the second race Jan Kischel and Max Kobold were the winners. So, as you see, Nicolai Moller-Madsen's Audi, the red Audi there, trying to thread its way into position. We've got 5 minutes to go before the start of the race. 56 there, trying to get to its grid slot, is the Team GT McLaren of Christian Danner, who did race here in GT4 last year. But of course, Christian Danner, or Christmas Dinner, as he was called when he drove for the Arrows Formula 1 team, massively experienced driver from F3000. He was the first Formula 3000 champion, for example, Formula 1 driver, DTM racer for Alfa Romeo. And with 3 minutes now to go to the start, it's going to take a bit of sorting out with a busy grid to get everybody into the right place. Now, let's quickly head down to the grid. The man overseeing the pole position car is James Appleby, and he is with our reporter, Dakota Jane, for his thoughts pre-race.
Hi, David. Yeah, we're down on a very, very hot grid here. I'm with James, team manager. James Holden didn't really want to speak a bit, so down to James, another James. It's going to be a really hot race, this one. There's a lot of GT4 cars piled up behind you. How's the result going to go?
Well, I'm glad I'm not driving for a start. It's always usually a bit carnage-like, especially here at Paul Ricard, tight first corner. Matt did a sterling job in quali, really pulled something special out of the bag. Race-wise, I think as long as we can stay in the top pack, everyone behind us and around us is silver cars, and we're the first Pro-Am in, I think, top 10, top 12. So if we can sort of keep our heads and nose clean, then James has just got to hand the car over to James and he'll bring it home and we'll finish where we finish.
This is your first pole in the European Championship.
Yeah, European GT4 first pole, so all the boys were pretty stoked with that. So yeah, hopefully we can have a good clean race and bring it home ready for race 2 tomorrow.
Let's see how you go. Thank you.
So James Appleby, occasional racer himself, but very proficient team manager. Father Dave Appleby, a very good rally driver and rally preparer many moons ago. So that's the car on pole position, and the point being made that it's a new style car, so we haven't really seen the best out of that squad hitherto this season. Matt George is going to start. James Holder, part of the original founding group of the Superdry clothing concern, he will do the second stint in that car, and very shortly we'll get things underway. We've got a slightly delayed start. We're back to 5 minutes before the start of the formation lap, largely I think because people just couldn't get through the melee on the grid, but the grid has now taken shape, and so it's not going to be long, I think, before we can get everybody released and get things underway. We'll have a walk down the grid in due course and just identify who is starting where. So with Matt George on pole position, Ricardo van der Ende alongside him. It's going to be the Aston Martin number 44 on the outside of the grid. Now, where is Ricardo van der Ende is the next question. That BMW I didn't see. Alec Udell is going to be on the second row of the grid in number 25. Alongside him is 24, Mads Siljehagen. There's the reason that number 8 wasn't there, because he's still trying to get himself through to the front. So into position comes the BMW. And now that he's there, we might be able to walk up the grid and see exactly who is where for this huge field to get underway. Alec Udell, the American driver, finding lots of new circuits to race at this year, but doing an excellent job. So he will go on the outside of the second row, Mads Siljehagen alongside him. Then we get to Florian Thomas, starting 5th, number 18. Alongside him, Brands Hatch winner Patrick Niederhauser. The next row of the grid is the Ginetta, started by Lucas Ibanez. And then number 36, Alpine, is Pierre-Alexandre Jean alongside. Number 26 BMW is Koen Bogarts, and 62 Aston Martin is the very rapid but underrated Brit Matt Cowley. Dan Mackay, double Monza winner, starts number 14 McLaren alongside number 7 of Julien Darra. 69, the V8 Racing entered Chevrolet Camaro. It's Duncan Houseman. 22 is Nicholas Scherl's Porsche Cayman alongside. Then it's 718, another of the Caymans in its very distinctive gold colours. And Max Busnelli, number 4, yellow Mercedes Max Cobalt. Next on the grid, number 13, Marc Bosseng, former GT1 world champion. 48 is David Loger. Then number 111, Gabriele Piana, a long way back. He's got Jeremy Sarhi for company in the Aston Martin. Number 1 next, the reigning champion, a long way back, Nikolai Moller-Madsen. 22 is the experienced, 22nd is the experienced Sohail Ayari. 23rd on the grid, Andy Merrick, the man behind the BRDC Superstars programme these days. 88 is Benjamin Lariche. Number 66 is started the repaired Mercedes by Ivan Lukasevich, and Gregoire de Mustier is alongside him, ahead of Ibrahim Okiai, and then Dominic Schrammel, number 777. Car number 2, a long, long way back, Marcus Pavarud's yellow Mercedes, and 55 is Michael Ben-Yahia. Number 31, next on the grid, is the Belgian journalist Stéphane Lemeray, with 77 lining up alongside the Maserati of Maciej Marcinovic. Then you've got number 30 of Jean Gloria. 71 is Max Tresoldi. Behind them comes Michael Blanchimont and Benjamin Mazatis. There is then Pascal Bachmann and Christian Danner. Behind them, number 99 is going to be started by Under Erdem, another of the KTMs. Number 11 for company is Gabi Ollier. And then the back row of the grid, 32 is started by Jean-Luc Behetz, and 61 is Tom Woods. Certainly a man to watch after his problems with this fuel pickup of yesterday in free practice and then again in qualifying this morning. So he's hoping for much better fortunes here. That's the grid. We are just about ready to go then. 1 minute to the start of the formation lap. In a moment, the drivers will be released, ready to get this lap underway, and then we will go racing. 60 minutes, mandatory pit stops, and action as ever all the way. Green flag at the back, green flag at the front, and the rather sinister black Aston Martin leads them away then in the hands of Matt George. Everybody blasts away then down towards turn 1, which is the left-hander, instant right into turn 2, and then you make the run down towards Virage d'Hôtel. But this is the key part of the start of the race, from a rolling start especially. They're the last car away, number 61 of Tom Wood. So everybody is away now, and this first race of the 2 set to get underway. It's going to be dramatic for sure. Such a big entry, and this is only the hors d'oeuvre for the fans trackside to what we've got later on with 6 hours of GT3 racing. Now, 88 limps away. That is Benjamin Lariche, his Alpine. I've just seen that out of the window, and it should have been 2/3 of the way down the grid. It's actually got away last, so Benjamin Lariche, I fear, is going to have to start at the back. We'll keep an eye to him. That was a car that had problems in qualifying, but looks like it's going to be last on the grid. You'll see it in the rear of the shot, no doubt, the yellow and white Burger King colours. Everybody now turning from turn 3, Virage d'Hôtel, down towards the Virage du Camp at turn 5. So this section of circuit where you can overtake, you can force a mistake out of somebody ahead, and you can shuffle the order, but you've got to be careful and you've got to be bold to do it. There is 777, the Dominic Schrammel Mercedes, and this is his view. Dominic Schrammel weaving around to get the warmth in the Pirelli tyres, and as he heads along the Mistral straight, halfway down it, there is that chicane put in for the purposes of GT4, so the drivers will brake hard, go through the left and right, and then left again, back onto the Mistral straight. There they are, doing exactly that. The Lumirank display on the windscreen is showing their position, not the car number, so it gives you an idea of where they are at the moment on the grid. But of course that all changes again when we go racing. Dominic Schrammel, they're hard at work here, trying to generate the warmth in the tyres and in the brakes, ready for the start of the race itself. Up towards the chicane Nord he comes, and then through that left and right sequence, ready to go for it, racing. And there, not racing, is Benjamin Lariche, the team speed car. Doesn't matter whether it's going to be at the back of the grid or not, it ain't going to start now, seemingly. So Lariche is a non-starter unless something can happen to fire the car up again, but it rather looks as though that's going to be a non-starter. Benjamin Lariche then going nowhere. Lights out on the safety car, which will now, as the pace car, get everybody in the 2x2 formation, ready to come up towards the rolling start. There you see the variety, KTM, Ginetta, BMW, Alpine, McLaren, Aston Martin, all in a long, long line as the cars now come to the long right-hander at Toulon. So you come out of Signes, which is the fast right, into Toulon, and then that corner goes on and on and on. Then it is up towards Ben d'Or. It's Dominic Schrammell's view once more as he now turns slowly, slowly, slowly through Toulon, itching to get on with the job, but a long, long way back is the Dominic Schrammell Mercedes. So he's going to want to watch over the opening few laps of the race here as we are set to go. There's number 13 of Marc Bosseng, the car that he shares with Phillip Baker. So now the pace starts to quicken as the drivers get themselves ready for the start of the race, the rolling start then. So in a moment, Matt George, it is in the almost unliveried black Aston Martin on pole position, Ricardo van der Ende alongside him, but Matt George has the inside line for turn 1, 001, the Lumirac display showing that he is the fastest from qualifying, and he will slot then into place on the outside of the road on the rolling start. He's there already. They're in that Noah's Ark 2x2 formation. Up towards the timing line they will come, and very shortly we'll be underway. The lights on the gantry are on red. If the race director is happy, they will be changed. We can get the 5th race of the season in the GT4 European Series underway here at Paul Ricard. Then the drivers now make the run up towards the timing line. Many dive out of position already, but the race is on. Whether that's going to be an investigated start, we'll wait and find out. But it was a bit untidy in mid-pack, but van der Ende has got the jump in the BMW. Down towards turn 1 they go. There's a Cayman up the curb on the outside line. Are they all going to funnel safely through turns 1 and 2? The answer is yes, they are. And Ricardo van der Ende leads the pack then down towards turn 3 for the first time. Good start also has been made there, look, by the fleetest of the Alpines, because that Pierre-Alexandre Jean up for the 4th row of the grid, and he's what, 3rd, as they dive down through turn 3 for the first time. Alec Udell losing places off the line. Nikolai Moller-Madsen is up the curb. Lucas Ibanez in the Ginetta is up on the inside line, but as the cars then now turn through turn 3, forced out wide is that Dan Mackay, possibly being squeezed onto the curb on the inside line. The Mercedes there, well, they've all just about got away with that. It could have been a bit more touch and go, to be fair, but although the order is shuffled greatly, everybody has avoided contact, and up they come towards the chicane for the first time. Ricardo van der Ende leading the way then in number 8 BMW that he shares with Ewan Mackay, whose brother Dan is lower down the order in the McLaren. Further back, look, side by side, you see the 007 Aston Martin on the attack. Florian Thomas is also in a big hurry. Alec Udell gets it wrong, coming into the chicane and rides up the curb. Patrick Niederhauser and Mads Siljehaug go either side, and Niederhauser is the one that's delayed in all of that because he ends up going way wide on exit of the second part of the chicane. Look, though, now at the way that the BMW of the leader is getting away. Change for second place. Alec Udell goes through ahead of Matt George. So the pole position car falling back in the pack here as they go through Signes for the first time. A drama, because that's Patrick Niederhauser who's gone off the road, and he's not the only one. Many of them have run way, way wide. And so as the cars get back onto the circuit now, Lucas Ibanez in the Ginetta is another one badly delayed. And Matt George is back onto the tail of Alec Udell, but dramas straight away, and the start, not surprisingly, because it was untidy, is under investigation. A spin there. That could be a Bullet Racing Mercedes. Andy Merrick, I fear it might well be. 33, Andy Merrick facing the wrong way, brings out the yellow flags. Andy has not had a lot of luck this year, and that could have been thanks to a tap from behind as the cars come to the end of lap 1, out of Virage Dupont and up towards the timing line now. The race leader, Ricardo van der Ende, is getting away from the rest of them as forced out wide is 55 McLaren. That's Michael Benny here. He's not the only one. Dominic Schrammell comes up over the timing line, down towards turn 1 now. Battle on for second, third and fourth places because Pierre-Alexandre Jean goes through on the inside of 44 Matt George. So the black Aston Martin losing another place here. In fact, Alec Udell has lost 2 places, has he not? Because Pierre-Alexandre Jean has got past a pair of them here. So as the cars head in towards turn 3 once more, the field turns by, and the gap between the race leaders at the end of lap 1, 3 seconds between the two of them. On board then with Dominic Schrammell, the cars blast their way out now of turn 5. This is the Mistral Straight, speed building all the time. So as the race leaders accelerate their way towards the chicane once more, the opening lap, 3 seconds between the top 2. This is the chicane north of the Mistral Straight, but going great guns is Pierre-Alexandre Jean within the leading gaggle at the moment. That little Alpine doing a very, very good job, and so now the car's up towards Senior once more. So Pierre-Alexandre Jean trying to gain places. In fact, the BMW in the background is Koen Bogart, so it's still Van der Ende from Udell. Then third is Pierre-Alexandre Jean in fourth place. Now it is going to be Matt George fifth, Koen Bogart and Mads Siljehaug sixth. The cars dive down now into the right-hander of Toulon. You can see the V8 Racing Camaro getting in on the act as well. Duncan Houseman sharing with Francesco Pastorelli this weekend. And another yellow flag is being waved in the background. Now, is that still because of Andy Merrick's dramas? I think it might well be, because he's not yet got through the last sector, Andy Merrick. We've also lost Sohail Ayari somewhere on the opening lap of the race as well. Leaders through, and the gap coming down then. Van der Ende to Udell, it's 2 seconds between the top two. So over the timing line they have come, and Alec Udell getting on with the job. A 2:15.6, they're lapping quicker than the race leader. They're going through on the inside line. Koen Bogart's going ahead of Matt George. So the Aston that looked good in qualifying, dropping down the order here. The BMW gains a place, moves through, with 5 minutes of the race just about done. Van der Ende to Udell 2 seconds, then another 2 seconds back before you get to Pierre-Alexandre Jean. We have lost, it seems, Andy Merrick, but also we know about Benjamin Lariche. Sohail Ayari has gone missing on the opening lap. Number one, Nikolai Monomadsen 13th, crawling all over the back there of the Patrick Niederhauser KTM. Those cars up through turn 6 at Saint-Beau. Now here's the replay of the start. You can see lots of people moving left and right to try and get out of the traffic jam of cars. Now whether that was before the lights changed is really down to the officials to determine, but it was not necessarily the tidiest of starts, and it means that some people may well have accelerated a bit too soon, and therefore penalties may well come. So the stewards will have a look at it. The race director says that's a bit messy. Go and have a look at that. Tell me whether anyone jumped the start or was out of position. You also see how people ran wide, amongst them number 9 going way, way wide, Sohail Ayari, but he was in worse to come later on in the lap, and Ayari is now in the pit lane, so possibly damage picked up. This was the view from on board Dominic Schramel's Mercedes. You see cars scattering left and right ahead of him. So out of Senior they come. You see on the runoff area on the outside the floppy markers that you've got to stay the right side of. There, number 14 hustling along, Dan Mackay trying to gain ground now. He's on the back of the Aston Martin train. He's got himself up past Julien Darras, so Matt Cowley is going to be the next target for him. In the background, Nikolai Müller-Madsen tries to gain ground. He's also got Gabriele Piana for company, and so through as well goes Patrick Niederhauser. So you've got 3 quick drivers here working their way forward as they come up towards the completion of the lap once again. So Dan Mackay finding that this is not quite as McLaren friendly as Monza was, and more drama for the KTM squad, and that again is Niederhauser. So Patrick Niederhauser was in 12th place, and he's come to grief by the look of it at Virage du Lac. Now how did he get there? He was battling with Gabriele Piana, who was up the curb, and boom, into the side of the KTM he goes, turns Niederhauser around. Piana may well have a case to answer there. He forced the issue. Yes, he was alongside, but he was up the curb, which makes it rather look like it was Niederhauser's corner. Anyway, you've got the leading BMWs 1 and 2, Van der Ende ahead of Udell. Alec Udell from the Pirelli World Challenge now coming across to European racing. Pierre-Alexandre Jean in 3rd spot, then 4th. Koen Bogart, so he's looking good for BMW at the moment. 1, 2, 4 with the Alpine of Pierre-Alexandre Jean that went so well in Bahrain in the Nations Cup supporting international event last year. Matt George down to 5th, and the start being investigated as well as that incident we've just seen between Niederhauser and also now 1-1-1 of Gabriele Piana. Down to the chicane, Van der Ende to Udell. The gap was down to 1.2 seconds last time, with the fastest lap of the race done by Alec Udell. He's closing on the race leader, no question about it. Matt Cowley has had a drama, I think, in the first sector because he has not yet broken the beam. And we have got now Piana under investigation for an incorrect start. We've got Ivan Lukasevich under investigation for out of position start, potentially Nicholas Schurl also, and Dominic Schramel. So lots of drivers being looked at for their starts. And the race order is on screen. Van der Ende leading from Udell. Through Senior they go. Mark Messeng, number 13, Mercedes. Tries to get past Dominic Schrammel, which he does, up on the inside line. And there's a McLaren with damage as well there. Now, was that the car of Dan Mackay? Need another shot at that, but I fear it might well be. Dan Mackay possibly with damage, and there's liquid leaking out of the car as well. Is it 14? Yes, it is. So Dan Mackay losing place after place. How he's picked up the damage, we know not yet, but damage he definitely has. So drive-through penalty for all of those drivers that I was mentioning a moment ago for an incorrect start. So drive-through penalties will come. It's not going to affect anybody in the leading gaggle. I think the best place of those is 13th, Gabriele Piana. There are the race leaders. And the gap has been coming down and down and down, and we're now to 0.3 of a second. So Van der Ende it is, who is ahead, but only just. Alec Udell looking for a way by. There, Van der Ende makes the run down towards turns 2 and 3. Alec Udell has chipped away. It was a massive advantage that Van der Ende built up on the opening lap of the race, and so now that has all disappeared. Alec Udell right there behind him. Co-drivers, Ewan Mackay to take over the leading car and Simon Knapp to take over the second place. So 2 more quick drivers to get on board. It's going to be interesting to see how that battle works itself out. Koen Bogaerts is 3rd, Matt George is 4th, and Matt George leading his class, the number 44 Pro-Am Aston Martin. 5th, Mads Siljehagen, 6th is Florian Thomas. So we've lost Lariche, we've lost Merrick, we've lost Sohail Ayari. So Andy Merrick clearly was given a big whack, and that's why he has had to retire from the race as the leading BMW swing through the chicane, and now Ricardo van der Ende is under huge pressure. Alec Udell may not know this place as well, but he's having a very, very impressive run here, right onto the back of Ricardo van der Ende. He's been bringing the gaps down and down and down. Nikolai Moller-Madsen now quicker than anybody within the first sector of the lap as the leaders come up towards Senior. It's a brave corner, a corner that favours brave drivers, even allowing for the fact the chicane is in midway up the straight. Udell pulls out, pulls back in again. So even though he's learning about the circuit all the time, this is a mighty impressive run. Van der Ende goes wide into the first part of Toulon, cuts across, takes the apex for the second, and now they run absolutely as one up towards the next corner, coming into Ben D'Or here. And there, with a punctured tyre and damage at the front, Dan Mackay in the pit lane for the Equipe Verschure team. You can see where the damage is on the left front corner, but who did he attack in order to get that? The plot thickens. As I say, we've also lost Matt Cowley into the pit lane. It could well have been that was the trigger. So Cowley and Mackay having contact, and another car in strife is number 12, Ibrahim Okiai's BMW, and that has got serious rear suspension damage, as you can see, crabbing its way up towards the chicane. Number 19 is under investigation, which is Jeremy Sahi, for skipping the chicane and getting an advantage. As through round the outside of Duncan Houseman, there goes number 24 of Mads Siljehagen. He gains the place going through turns 1 and 2. So Siljehagen 6th at the expense of Duncan Houseman. And Houseman, with all of that grunt in the Camaro, rumbles back on by. Cars turn out of turn 3. Nikolai Moller-Madsen running in 8th place, making good progress in the Audi, struggled in qualifying, traffic being part of it, and yet more woe for Bullet Racing. That is Ivan Lukasevich off the road. Side by side for the race lead. On the outside line, the black BMW is Alec Udell. It's the Equerris run car that hangs on to the lead. There, Ricardo van der Ende is sideways. Just gets it gathered up again to go for the apex for the mid part of the chicane. Van der Ende leads the way. Then now back onto the Mistral straight. Alec Udell right there behind him, looking for a way by. But for the moment, at any rate, he cannot do so. He's applying the pressure to Van der Ende. Fascinating to see the way that the lead gap that he had built up has disappeared, but he's managing to withstand the pressure. The second of the Bullet Racing Mercedes we'd just seen, Ivan Lukasevich's car, was an engine failure, a huge cloud of smoke. That, remember, rebuilt that car after its sizable Brands Hatch accident. So it was crashed at Monza, crashed at Brands, engine failure here. Very, very miserable season for that team. So we've got the leaders together. And Alec Udell crawling all over the back of car number 8, Ricardo van der Ende. Up now towards Virage du Lac they come. We've had almost the first 15 minutes of the hour, and these two running as one. Alec Udell right there on the back of the leading car as they come into Virage du Pont, up towards the timing line now. as they come by. It is the Ricardo van der Ende BMW by 0.4 of a second in the lead of the race. That is all. It was over 3 seconds on lap 1. Alex Udell has hacked away into that. Now up into third place, look, is Koen Bogaerts in the next of the BMWs, the second MDM Motorsport car, teammate to Udell. And a drive-through penalty for number 19 for Jeremy Sari in the Pro Speed car. Now the team is saying we gave the position back, but he's being given a drive-through for cutting the chicane and gaining a place. There it is on the screen, but that's an argument that's going to rumble on. Down towards turn 1. Number 19, Aston Martin, there it is, the car we're talking about, squabbling with Gregoire de Boustier's Alpine that goes out wide. Jeremy Sari just getting on with the job as best he can here, pushing. And right there behind them is 61. That's Tom Wood up from the back of the grid to 14th place. Great drive this by Tom Wood, graduate of Ginetta Junior Racing, and he's crawling all over the back of the Alpine. 2 race leaders as well. Here they come now up towards the chicane. Still Van der Ende hanging on to the place. Alex Udell trying to find a way past him as the cars sprint back to the Mistral Straight. We're on lap number 7, and that's Mads Siljehaug's KTM in the pit lane. And by the look of it, contact has damaged a tyre. He's being told to fire up the engine as the new wheel is put on, but Siljehaug trying desperately to stay on the lead lap here. There's the leading battle as the cars turn through towards us. So Ricardo van der Ende leading the way, but only just. Alex Udell right up behind him. Koen Bogaerts runs third, Matt George fourth, Florian Thomas fifth, Duncan Houseman is sixth. There the cars accelerate up through the Bendor left-hander on towards the Virage du Lac and the approach to the pit lane, but they don't need to worry about that yet, not for another 10 minutes or so before we get to the pit window opening. In a number of cases, if you've got your quicker driver in first, of course, you'll want him to stay out for as long as possible. If you've got your slower driver in first, then the situation changes a little bit. You'll want to get him into the pit lane and change to the faster driver as soon as you possibly can. So, another lap in the book, and the 2 BMWs go through. 7 laps are now done, and the margin was 0.4. It's now half a second between the top 2 drivers. Van der Ende leads the way. Through they turn. Third place, Koen Bogaerts, 7.5 seconds back, not really being able to make progress against them here. And the rest of the cars diving down towards turn 1. Who else might be gaining places? Gregoire de Bustier, Tom Wood are up the order. Jeremy Sahi down, although he's yet to, of course, also to serve his drive-through penalty. We've got David Loger, also Christian Danner making progress. And there, 15, Lucas Ibanez with a very spectacular 718 behind him, Max Busnelli in the gold-wrapped Cayman GT4, the 718 iteration of the Cayman, the very latest, hence the race number on the side of the car. The Ginetta G55 just up the road ahead. Ginetta's for many, many years the mainstay of GT4, certainly in Britain. But now we have just the one example here in this European race as Ricardo van der Ende hangs on to the race lead still, coming into the chicane. Up through the gears comes Alex Udell. He looks for the inside line at Senior, but is he close enough here to make a move? Doesn't look like it, so he pulls out and has a look and pulls back in again, going into the fast right at Senior. Van der Ende versus Udell. This battle's going to go on to the pit stops. It might carry on after as well when you have Ewan Mackay hoping to emulate his brother's success by winning in the championship this year versus Simon Canap, but Canap the more experienced of the two. They're going through. You've got the next Mercedes battle where Dominic Schrammel is looking to gain ground, and is that an Aston Martin into problems? Let's see. There's one car you see pulling to one side, slowly making its way up towards Senior. Is that possibly number 19 from the Pro Speed squad? Yes, it is. So that is Jeremy Sari, who has got a problem. And is that a tyre that's going down, which is why he's off the road and trying not to get in everybody's way. Either way, Jeremy Sari is in strife, no question about it. Leaders come over the timing line. Number 14, incidentally, Dan Mackay out of the race. We saw them changing a tyre, but the damage is sufficient to render them a retirement, I'm afraid, as the leaders go through. 0.6 of a second between the top 2, and then look at this monster gap between them and everybody else pouring over the line now. Koen Bogaerts just ahead of Matt George, then Florian Thomas and Duncan Houseman in 6th place. Through they come. There's Houseman, massively experienced driver, hugely successful in GT4 as well as in the gear race at Macau, the touring car race there over the years. He's got number 1, Nikolai Muller-Madsen, behind him. Now, Muller-Madsen has made very good progress here. He was mid-grid, but has now worked himself up into 7th spot, and more progress can be made before he gives way to Cedric Freiberghaus for the second stint. The Danish driver here, out of the Virage du Camp, up towards Saint-Baume. Through that right-hander, king left at turn 7, and then onto the Mistral straight. Race leaders together up to the chicane. So Ricardo van der Ende from the inside of the front of the grid, Alec Udell from the outside of the second row, right there with him, looking to see whether he can influence this now, make a move, or whether he's going to have to rely on his teammate, Simon Canap, to do the hard work in the second stint. Let's see how it pans out as the cars again make the run up towards Senior. Through they turn. Not quite as one on this lap because the gap has widened slightly, up from 0.3 to 0.6 of a second. In third place, Koen Bogarts. Fourth, Matt George. Fifth is Florian Thomas from Duncan Houseman, from Nikolai Muller-Madsen, Julian Darrow, Max Kobold, Mark Bosseng rounding out the top 10. Patrick Niederhauser going through down in 17th place in the black and white and orange KTM after his earlier spin. So Niederhauser still pushing on and trying to gain places. The rest of this enormous field still streaming through Senior, including there the Maserati, which we've not seen much of this year in the European Championship, but we have had in the regional series in the past. This is Marcinovic, the pole, in the Maserati Gran Turismo MC GT4 I'm talking about. You see 27 going through the IMSA performance run car. That's the IMSA Audi of Michael Blanchemin. Normally you associate IMSA with Porsches, but as the Maserati goes through ahead of it, this time it's an Audi. So the race leaders still with 0.6 between them. Marcinovic keeping at bay the IMSA run Audi. Michael Blanchemin, that we've seen in GT3 as well as GT4 cars in the past. The E-Sky Maserati makes a glorious noise, howls its way up towards the timing line. It will go through now then, and Marcinovic in 22nd place, third in class. Now we're only about 3 minutes away from the pit window opening, so it won't be long before pit stops come. And Ricardo van der Ende by 0.699 of a second. Last time the leader from Alec Udell. Koen Bogarts in third place, Matt George fourth. Florian Thomas is in 5th place. Now there is Matt George going after Koen Bogarts. Despite doing a good job in qualifying, Matt's not really been able to live with the BMWs, but they are still, these two, him and James Holder, leading in Pro-Am, having had a pretty torrid start to the season with last year's, therefore less rapid, Aston Martin. Now they've got the very latest car and a class lead ahead of Mark Bosseng and Phillip Baker's Mercedes in the background is a very good result. Now whether or not James Holder's going to be able to maintain that pace, we'll have to wait and see, but Matt George giving him a good start, certainly by getting it on the front row of the grid and also now hanging on to a class lead as Alec Udell goes through. This is the man in second place. Turns his way out of Bendor up towards Virage du Lac now, still chasing after Ricardo van der Ende. The race leader then will get 1, maybe 2 more laps out before the pit window opens, but for him I suspect he will stay out pretty much until the midpoint, maybe even later, given that he's got all this experience and all this pace relative to Ewan Mackay. Number 19, Aston Martin, has been withdrawn. We saw it slow out on track. That car has retired and is out of the race. Matt Cowley, we've lost. Ibrahim Okiai, we've lost. Ivan Kusevich, we've lost. Dan Mackay, we've lost. And Pierre-Alexandre Jean's Alpine also has gone missing. Now, that may well have been the car that was collected by Dan Mackay because they dropped out at around about the same time. So the Alpine made a good start to the race, but I'm afraid with potential damage is yet another retirement as the leaders go by once more. And van der Ende and Udell, that gap has now rather stabilised at the 0.6 of a second mark. Good little fight going on here between Michael Ben-Yahir in the McLaren and Gregoire de Mustier's Alpine that tries to get up the inside line there. Ben-Yahir tries to fend him off and just about does so. Big flash of the lights by Gregoire de Mustier, former Hexis McLaren GT3 racer. You've seen him in World Touring Cars, seen him in the World Rallycross Championship of late as well. Gregoire de Moustier then getting himself onto the back of Michael Benyia here up the inside of the McLaren. Up the curve he goes and he gains a place. So Gregoire de Moustier back up into 11th place that he briefly held earlier on. Also coming through is Tom Wood from last on the grid. So that's going to put Tom Wood now 12th from 42nd. That is some stint, I tell you. Tom Wood absolutely flying. So Tom Wood, number 61 Aston Martin there, the silver and yellow car on the inside line, defending from Michael Benyia here. He comes up to the outside line. Ibanez in the Ginetta behind them. Tom Wood on the inside, hangs onto his place then. So great bit of driving to get him, as I say, up from 42nd now to effectively 12th place. Tom Wood getting himself clear of Michael Benyia here. Second at Monza was Benyia here, the car that he shares with Charlie Fagg. Down towards Senior they come. Tom Wood defending. Benyia here in the slightly more aero-friendly McLaren, tries the outside, can't do it, then tries to duck up on the inside, but the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin hangs onto its place now as they sprint towards the right-hander at Toulon. Can the McLaren duck up the inside? What about the Ginetta? Because right there, yes, going through on the inside line, look, is the Ginetta. So Ibanez gains a place. Benyia here so focused on getting back ahead of Tom Wood, left the door open, and past him then goes number 15, Luc Ibanez, goes through. 35 minutes and 3:2:10 seconds on the clock, meaning the pit window is open. Who is going to be bold and dive in early in this race? Let's see, because only really if you are not as quick as your co-driver would you want to pit straight away. We'll see if anybody does so, as there is 26 Koen Bogaerts. We've got a drive-through penalty for Dominic Schrabel for pushing another car. That's his second drive-through of the race. We're only at the pit stop window opening. So Dominic Schrabel having a pretty checkered start to affairs here. Everybody else pours past the pits now. Now there is 718, the hugely experienced Max Busnelli. As into the pit lane comes Schrabel. This should be his drive-through. He knows what to do because he's already served one drive-through penalty. Down the pit road he comes then. Stays in the fast lane of the pit road. We'll go past the team, and here are the race leaders still busy squabbling as they come once again up now through the Chicane Nord. Blasting on down towards Senior, and Ricardo van der Ende, you've got to hand it to him, has done a very good job of withstanding all of the pressure in this race, because even though Udell has been crawling all over the back of him, he's not put a wheel wrong. More squabbles still rage lower down the order. Michael Benyia here goes through. Now Tom Wood, having gained places when we last saw him, has lost quite a chunk. He might have made a mistake, and he's about to lose a few more, because past him has gone Busnelli and Ibanez, and also off the road now goes Marcus Pavarud's yellow Mercedes. He's back on again, but Pavarud went way, way wide there. So Marcus Pavarud in the car that he shares with Lucky Trefts, off the road and back on. Time lost as a consequence, but Tom Wood out of sight must have had a moment. The car looking a bit nervous at Senior as well, and also coming into the mix now is the BMW there, look, on the inside line, so nearly 3 wide coming up towards Toulon here. And it's 71 BMW, the car of Max Tresoldi, that goes through on the inside line, but he's under attack straight away. Out of Toulon, and now up towards Bendor they come. 48 Alpine of David Loger. Into the pits comes Alec Udell. Also Max Kobold is in. David Loger is in. Maciej Markinovic is in. Christian Danner is in. Michael Blanchemont is in. Gabi Ulvi is in. And Pascal Bachmann is in. So quite a lot of the regulation pit stops being served. So Alec Udell gives way to Simon Knapp. Good move, because Simon Knapp's experienced and quick. So we need to monitor his pace relative to van der Ende, bearing in mind that Knapp will now go to the end, and van der Ende will have to make a pit stop. So there's 25, falling down the field as everybody else goes through. And now Ricardo van der Ende is on his own. So in theory, he can go quicker because he doesn't have to defend, doesn't have to look in his mirrors as much. He can just push, push, push and try and consolidate the advantage over this car for the second stint in the race. Thumbs up, but what's happened to Simon Knapp? He's not moving. Everything okay? He goes now. But I think a lot of time has been lost there. Remember, they've got to do a stop at 1 minute and 45. Let's see what this is going to be for Simon Knapp as he makes his way down the pit lane. If you're under on the pit stop, a penalty comes. There's Van der Ende and Simon Knapp going down the pit lane, but it's a long, long pit lane, so he's not yet back on track. It's a minute 45, 46, 47, 46.6, in fact, is where the clock stops itself. So he didn't lose too much in the pit lane as you look at other stops cycling through now. .777 back in. Now it is going to be Jan Reinig taking over from Dominic Schrammel. That's the race leading car though, number 8 BMW. Ricardo van der Ende still pushing, still building the race lead. Down towards turn 1 goes Van der Ende. That last lap was a 2:14.7. His best was a 2:14.4. And another team, you see, paying tribute to Niki Lauda, as many do this weekend. That's the German Schwede Motorsport team. Jan Reinig takes the Mercedes AMG GT4 back into the race. Right, Ricardo van der Ende's Equus run BMW leading the way. Comes now out of Saint-Baume up towards the Mistral Straight once again out of turn 7. Ahead of him is Patrick Niederhauser, so Niederhauser's car in danger of going a lap down. He's making sure that's not yet served its regulation pit stop. Van der Ende, Bogart, George, Hausmann, Thomas, Darras, Hossein Busnelli, Ibanez Loge is the top 10. And David Loge is the last of those yet to make in the top 10 a stop. So as through goes Van der Ende, Nikolai Müller-Madsen has just come in. Gregoire de Moustier is in also. There's number 8 BMW then, with Van der Ende still pushing. He's 13 seconds up on Bogarts. What we need to start monitoring next will be the pace of Simon Knapp and where he's dropped to after the pit stop, having taken over now from Alec Udell. 21st the car was shown at. It's not yet come across the timing line. It does so now in 22nd place. Right, so Van der Ende on his way up towards the Virage du Lac and then on towards the timing line. Does he go for the pit lane? He does, so the leader is in. So he had in hand 2 minutes and 4 seconds over Simon Knapp. That should be enough to maintain the advantage and then some. 1 minute and 45, remember, is what you need in the pits. In also comes Koen Bogarts, and he will give way now in a very well-placed BMW to Mark van der Aert. There he is, Mark van der Aert stands by. Further up the pit lane, Van der Ende gives way to Ewan Mackay. So there is the other car that could influence the outcome of the race, namely Simon Knapp's BMW, the same type of car but a rival team, Equus, which has really stamped its mark on running BMWs, and Simon Knapp, experienced driver of them. In the MDM Motorsport car here, Ricardo van der Ende has bailed from number 8. In has got now Ewan Mackay. There, Simon Knapp at Signe. And van der Ende, work done, walked away. Now let's see how much they gain on the pit stop over Simon Knapp's car. That did 1 minute and 46.6. And Ricardo van der Ende now having given way to Ewan Mackay, waiting to see track position and the gap relative to this car. So as the stop cycle through, away now goes Ewan Mackay. The Equus team wave him down the pit lane and he's back in business. So slowly down the pit lane, Simon Knapp comes up towards the timing line. And where is the black BMW in the background? In a moment, over the pit out line, up to speed goes number 8. And the pit stop was slower, 1:47.6, so he lost a second against the black car. There it is behind. So Ewan Mackay versus Simon Knapp, more experienced a driver and also further into his stint with greater knowledge of what the car on the track is like. Simon Knapp is hard at work now, trying to get onto the back of, effectively, the race leader, Ewan Mackay, for the moment, because he's yet to stop. Matt George takes over the advantage. But it's game on again between these two BMWs as they come out of turn 3 now, out of the Virage d'Hôtel, down towards Virage du Camp. And the BMWs that make this great distinctive engine note, they look more like touring cars, you could argue, in their shape, but they make a very good GT4 car. So McLaren victorious in both Monza races, KTM and Mercedes victorious at Brands Hatch. Is this going to be the first BMW victory of the season? That's onto the Mistral straight. It's still Equus versus MDM. And now Ewan Mackay trying to get himself into a rhythm and try and build that gap over the opposition here. Now that, back into the pit lane, number 1 Audi, Cedric Freiberghaus, with a problem. Got to say, Cedric Freiberghaus into the pit, so all is not well there. And there's no urgency about the pit stop either. So the Phoenix Racing squad has a look at the rear of the car. KTM's are hard at work still. So you've got the number 16 Patrick Niederhauser entry after a spin early on, trying to battle its way back into the mix, and all the KTMs come to grief coming out of the middle part of the chicane there, because number 16 manages to trip over the opposition. Back on track they get. So Reinhard Koffler, in fact it's the McLaren of Charlie Fagg, apologies, that was being tripped over. There is Charlie Fagg, he's taken over from Michael Benye here, and Fagg at the start of the lap was running in 18th place, but he got himself up past Koffler, but he's also got there number 35 Alpine of Alain Ferté in the mix as well. Koffler is the one that's come off worst there, trying to get past the blue McLaren. Michael Benye here, now Charlie Fagg, and Alain Ferté splitting the pair of them as they come up through the approach to the Virage du Lac once more. So there is Reinhard Koffler. What can he do to fight back? He's down in 17th place at the moment, and he goes up the inside and he goes 16th at the expense of Alain Ferté. So place gained as the cars come up towards the timing line. So making a little bit of progress back again is Koffler, but of course all that started with his mistake over at the chicane. The two BMWs almost together now for the race lead, because very definitely you can see the way that Simon Knapp is going. He's hustling back onto the tail of the leading car. The gap's coming down and down and down here. Through the traffic. On track at the moment, Phillip Baker is leading the way because he's just taken over from Marc Bosseng. The Aston Martin there of Academy Motorsport forced out of the way. That was the back marker having to scalper as the leaders come towards Senior, and now much pressure being applied to Ewan Mackay as the cars head up towards the right-hander to the inside line. Now goes Simon Knapp. Is he going to be able to find a way through? Let's see. Can't do it there. Now he tries to line up maybe for a move on the inside going down towards Toulon. The Equus team looks on. Ricardo van der Ende concerned. Simon Knapp right on the limit, almost off the road. Yep, gets onto the runoff area, and the gap widens as a consequence with 23 minutes to go in this BMW battle. Still, Ewan Mackay hanging on to the advantage then, but now Simon Knapp trying every which way. Through they turn, pretty much as one here. Lead battle comes towards the Virage du Lac once more, and then swing into the Virage du Pont up towards the completion of lap number 16. Leaders go through, and the margin that we had pre-pit stops was down at one point to 3/10 and then hovered around the 6/10 mark. Now, as they come by pretty much together, the gap is 3/10 of a second once again. And it's close, says Ricardo van der Ende. There's nothing he can do about it. He's done his job, and now it's his ever-improving co-driver Ewan Mackay that's got to do the hard yards here. Mackay from Scottish Club Racing through Carrera Cup GB into British GT, and now down in the European Series he comes to turns 3, 4 and 5. Simon Knapp crawling all over the back of him, tries the outside, then looks to the inside line, but there's no way through there, or is there? No, tries to get up the curb. All the while, he's moving the car around in the mirrors of Mackay, trying to make him make a tiny, tiny error. Onto the Mistral straight they come. Mackay straight away has to move across and try to cover the line. This is the run up towards the chicane, and Simon Canap will perhaps line up on the outside and dive to the in. Let's see what he does. Ewan Mackay covers him off. Simon Canap on the outside line, breaks as late as he dares. Can he get a mistake here? Well, a little bit deep, maybe. Goes Mackay. Nat switches sides up the curb, but he hasn't quite got the drag through the mid part of the chicane. Nose to tail, they run again now. He goes to the outside line, gets a face absolutely full of Ewan Mackay, and they run into the right-hander now, coming into the fast senior corner. At the start of the lap, 0.353 of a second was all it was between the two of them. And now again, Simon Canap to the inside line. Has he got track position this time? Well, he's got himself halfway alongside, 2/3 of the way alongside. He's got the inside line and he's got the lead now. Simon Canap goes through. The MDM Motorsport BMW takes over the race lead. Canap has done it. He's gained the place, but as a thumbs up comes from Alec Udell, is that the end of the story? Or can Ewan Mackay fight back? Let's see. Third, a long way back, is Mark van der Aar in the second of the MDM BMWs, in other words, another of the black BMW M4s. But Ewan Mackay, certainly frustrated at having lost the race lead, will give it everything he possibly can now to get back onto terms with the leader. Over the timing line they come once again here. Through they turn, over the line, and again down into turn one. Now there's another investigation going on. Michael Benny here, and now Charlie Fagg being investigated for too short a pit stop. So 55, Charlie Fagg is running in 10th place, and he was 1 second under on the pit stops. Canap to Mackay is now 8/10. Mark van der Aar is third. Francesco Pastorelli, Nicky Pastorelli's brother, is fourth. Fifth, Jan Kissier. Laki Rabindra's Aston Martin is sixth. James Holder is seventh. Jamie van den Balk eighth. Ninth, Phillip Baker. And 10th is Charlie Fagg. But I fear not for long, given that the evidence is there about his pit stop and a penalty is sure to come. More battles going on here as the Ginetta, in the hands now of Matt Grobe, loses out. Up and past him goes Paolo Meloni's BMW round the outside line. So Meloni is ahead at turn one. This battle now is for 14th place. Meloni going ahead, back out indeed of the Ginetta that tries to squirt up the inside coming out of turn two. Behind them, you've got the Lucky Treff's number 2 Mercedes. And Paolo Meloni is ahead, but not for long, because back through goes the Ginetta on the inside line. So Max Lobe goes through, and up past him now goes Aurélien Panis, number 31, in the first of those yellow perils. So number 31 Mercedes, Stéphane Leberet started, and Aurélien Panis, Olivier Panis' son, now behind the wheel. He takes over and gains a place as well, hauling the car up the order. Driving stance flag now being shown to Guillaume Dumaret for not respecting track limits. So it's all happening as ever here, with places changing, with pit stop penalties coming. And Simon Canap getting away now from Ewan Mackay. Now I'm just looking to see if anybody might be able to get up onto terms with Ewan. Mark van der Aar is not lapping as quickly behind him. Francesco Pastorelli in fourth, no. The quickest man out there definitely is Simon Canap. So for the race lead, he's pulling clear. There through is number 2, Lucky Treff's, currently 6th in class. That's one of the cars that runs within Pro-Am, where still Matt George and James Holder lead the class. Big twitch there by Treft as he turns through. That's the car taken over from Pavarud. James Holder, number 44, up towards the timing line. He's just lost a place to Jamie van den Balk there, you'll see. So change for 7th and 8th places, but Holder is hanging on to his Pro-Am lead, but only just, because Phillip Baker's Mercedes is not that far behind in the background. Holder has another look to try to get back himself ahead of van den Balk, 007. Number 44, Aston Martin, there it is, goes through, hanging on to a class lead, 8th overall. 17 minutes of the race to go. And a 1 second stop-go penalty comes to Charlie Fagg for being, as feared, short on the pit stop. So Charlie Fagg has to make a pit stop to make up what he didn't serve in the regulation pit stop. So the officials monitor all this very, very closely. In you can't get away with anything. So the 1 second stop-go penalty will come, and Simon Knapp in the meantime is getting away in the race lead now, 1.7 seconds to the good. This will be the first BMW win of the season, second time we've had a BMW up on the podium, because Simon Knapp and Alec Udell the third at Monza in the first race. A 3-second stop-go penalty to Gabi Ulli and Lisette Brahms for being short on the pit stop as well. Number 4 goes out of senior. That's now Jan Kisiel, Brands Hatch winner, and the Mercedes rather struggling here in comparison because it's down in 5th place, 22 seconds away from the race leader. Way up the curb there comes Mark van der Aar. Behind him, look, Francesco Pastorelli, and then Jan Kisiel. So 3rd, 4th, 5th, running as one. Good little fight going on here for another 16 minutes, give or take. Race leaders are on to lap number 20, 2.4 seconds being the margin between them. So number 4 goes through. Jan Kisiel up towards the timing line once again. And the fan looking on from above the pit boxes. See now 3rd, 4th, 5th, BMW, Chevrolet, Mercedes through as one. And there it is still just Mark van der Aar hanging on to his 3rd place. Also under investigation now is Aurélien Panis for speeding in the pit lane. But Pastorelli, new to the car, joining Duncan Houseman, getting on with the job nicely. This is the one that Olivier Hart drove at the start of the year, but has decided to go back to historic racing rather than modern GT racing, which is a shame because he would have been, I think, a real asset. And that car's about to lose out. Is it up the inside over the curb? Goes Jan Kisiel, doesn't gain the place. Off the road and back on again there. Look, goes Pastorelli, but he's going to lose out now. Going into turn 6 at Saint-Baume. Through on the inside goes Kisiel, job done. Jan Kisiel gains the place and now tries to break clear. So the Mercedes up into 4th spot and now setting off in pursuit of Mark van der Aar's BMW to try to go for the podium. But the Grunt and Go Chevrolet powers back round the outside. Pastorelli goes ahead of him. Brakes late. Has he got the job done? He's ahead, but is he going to go wide here? Yes, he is, but he almost stopped the car on the apex to make sure that Kisiel could not find a way through, and it means that as they come on to the remainder of the Mistral straight, it's still just going to be Pastorelli ahead. More KTMs across the timing line, lower down, where Dominic Albert is staying ahead of Phil Hill. So Pastorelli and Kisiel, 4th and 5th through together. Here's the replay of what happened to Jan Kisiel then down at turn 5. Made the launch on the inside, up the curb. Forced Pastorelli a little bit wide and perhaps backed out of that quite wisely, thinking, well, if I make the move, I'm going to get censured for it. But Pastorelli then ran wide at Saint-Baume, had to lift, and that gave Kisiel the place anyhow. So there is number 4, Jan Kisiel, and a big cloud of smoke ahead of him. Now that's the Chevrolet with a problem because over the curb, but then slow and smoke as well. Francesco Pastorelli out of the race. The car limps towards the line. He's going to have to pull off and park it, isn't he? He can't limp round a whole lap because he'll do untold damage to the car. So Pastorelli limps off the circuit, but that is his race round. So the car that was 4th is a retirement. Pastorelli limps past the pits, but he's going to have to park that. That's the end of his race. Getting another look at it now. Was it a problem and he went over the curb, or was going over the curb the problem? There you see the smoke from the back, and that's enough straight away to herald its retirement. So it's a race that's changing fortunes for many of them, that's for sure, but Simon Knapp is up at the front. There's now a drive-through penalty being given to Max Cobalt and Jan Kisiel's car for avoidable contact. That must have been down at turn 7. Another one in trouble is 22. That's Jan Kasperlik, and he's got a puncture. So Jan Kasperlik's car with a puncture. It's interesting to know whether these are punctures caused by contact or by drivers pressing on and the track surface being abrasive, because all of that's going to be very relevant for the teams that are in the 6-hour Blancpain GT series race later on in the evening. But the car that's fourth getting a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact. I have to say, I think that's a little bit draconian, because it looked as though he backed out of the move and let Pastorelli hang on to the place, and it's almost academic anyway with the Camaro out. But there Kasperlik limps on with his flat tyre, and the leading car of Simon Canap heads now up towards Virage du Pont. This is the end of lap number 21. So the MDM Motorsport BMW controlling the race now. The yellow flag's further up the road, and to say that there is the stricken Chevrolet in the background. Kasperlik comes into the pit lane. So through they turn, another lap in the book, 21 are done, and 3 seconds the margin. The leaders go through. Jan Kishiel comes in to serve the drive-through penalty. So fourth he was, we'll see where that drops him to. Mark van der Aert goes through, hanging on to his third place. Up into fourth now should go Akhil Rabindra. He does. Up into fifth place will go now whom? It should be Jamie van den Balk, and then James Holder, with also Reinhard Koffler in the mix, and Koffler goes ahead of Holder, yes, in the KTM. So van den Balk 6th, Koffler 7th, Holder 8th, 9th and 10th here, Phillip Baker and Alain Ferté. The massively experienced French driver goes through on the inside line and goes 9th. So Alain Ferté through on the inside line heading into turn 1. The Alpine through and now starts to try to break clear. Number 13 then, Phillip Baker. He was second in Pro-Am, he's now third. So Alain Ferté going after the class leader James Holder, and that margin is just over 2 seconds. So with 10 minutes to go, could well be that we get the Alpine into the lead of the class by the very end, the way that he's going here. He's looking good. So along the Mistral comes the KTM. That's Reinhard Koffler, who's in 7th place. 8th is Holder, and more drama for KTM. 24, Phil Hill is off the road. And has he got damage? It looks like he's got bodywork missing from the right rear corner of the car. And that therefore suggests contact somehow. The front bodywork is lifted. Phil Hill will clamber out. But with 9 minutes to go, another retirement. Yellow flag out trackside. All of this is in the last sector, so it's coming from the Toulon Ben d'Or section, I think, as you look at the Michael Benya here. McLaren, now Charlie Fagg at the wheel of it, that's in 18th place. Behind is the stream of cars that includes the likes of Jan Reining. Now what's going on as far as the leader is concerned? He's 4 seconds to the good. There is the Maserati, number 77. This now is the car of Lukasz Kreszki. 17th overall, the Maserati runs. It looks massive compared to some cars out there, but it's got plenty of power. Yellow flag zone on the exit of Toulon, which I suspect is where Phil Hill has come to grief. So they're trying to move that car. They have done so. And also there's bodywork sitting on the side of the road. I don't think we need a full course yellow or a safety car with 8 minutes to go. It can remain where it is, can't it? '77 goes through then. So the Maserati, first time we've seen it in the championship this year, looking strong. That magic noise as it comes charging out of the Virage du Pont, being chased hard by Charlie Fagg in 18th place. Charlie, second in the first race at Monza, goes by. But with that penalty for being short on the pit stop, it's cost them dear. Now, there's another investigation going on between 24, Phil Hill, and number 99 of Dominic Olbert. And more drama, and that is James Holder, by the look of it, spinning away his class lead. So James Holder in the black Aston Martin losing it at Saint-Baume, and as a consequence throwing himself off the perch of being class leader in Pro-Am. So a very costly mistake made by the British driver. Into the chicane there goes 718. So this now in the hands, this car, of Ivan Jakoma. The Italian driver goes on to the approach to Senior in that gold Porsche 718. In 10th place he was at the start of this lap, and behind the yellow perils have got themselves together. Kittil versus Panis. Phillip Baker losing out as through on the inside line goes Max Loewe in the Ginetta. Now into Toulon they turn. Yellow flag still waved because of Phil Hill's car further up the road, going nowhere and trying to be retrieved. For the race leader, he's on lap number 24, and 3.8 seconds now is the margin. Contact apparently is what pitched James Holder into the spin. The team are asking for it to be looked at. As you see there, look, the two Mercedes running, in fact 3 Mercedes virtually running together now as they come up towards the completion of the lap. Side by side, Kittil and Panis on the inside line is Aurélien Panis. Is he going to be able to go through there and gain the place? Panis in number 31 on the outside over the curve. On the inside goes Kittil, and he just hangs on to that place. So the leaders on lap 24. Battles rage all the way around Paul Ricard circuit, and these 3 Mercedes about as close as you'll find anywhere. Baker, Kittil, Panis. This is for 10th, 11th and 12th places as they come onto the Mistral once again. The way that Jan Kittil is going suggests he's going to be able to gain the place, bearing in mind that he's already had to serve a drive-through, which is what has cost that car ground earlier on. Onto the Mistral they come, with Baker hanging on to the place. Now, as far as Pro-Am is concerned, it's Alain Ferté leading from Ivan Jakoma. There they are, or at least there is Jakoma in the Cayman. Certainly draws attention to itself, that car. Onto the Mistral comes the 718, the GT4 Club Sport Cayman. And up towards Senior 4, lap 24. There is the glorious-looking Cayman swinging its way up towards Toulon. And that car currently in 8th place, Ivan Jakoma. Now, behind, look, more BMW fun and games as Marius Zug tries to get himself up the inside of Phillip Baker to no avail. The Cayman, however, hangs on to its place against the Ginetta. Opposite ends, you could argue, of the sports car spectrum, but the Ginetta goes through, so the Leeds-built car goes through on the inside line, picks up a place, and that means that into 8th now goes Max Loewe against the Stuttgart-built Porsche, but locks up, slithers wide into the Virage du Lac. Does he gather it all up for the Virage du Pont? No, another lock up, and the Ginetta's going to go out wide. That will do the tyres no good whatsoever. But actually, in fairness to Loewe, he hangs on to the place. 3.5 more minutes still to run as the cars come across the line. So can Jakoma go back ahead then as the cars come by? He got 2 wheels off the road there. Now is that perceived as being gaining an advantage by being off the track? Occasionally at Monza it's looked at that way. Down towards turn 1. Ivan Jakoma goes through. So a place gained again for the Cayman up to 8th. And the cars now sprint themselves down into turn 3 for the 25th time of asking Simon Canap, the race leader, long gone. And another lock-up from Max Loewe, and this time he's heading off the road over the blue paint, which is where the extra grit is, the retardation paint. And he's back on the road, doesn't gain, doesn't lose by all of that, but the tyres are going to be shot. And you almost wonder now whether it's a braking problem that the Ginetta has had, because there's constant errors at heavy braking zones. He's certainly losing time against the Cayman, no argument about that as they come through again. So 2.5 minutes on the clock. How much time has the race leader got for more laps? Where is he on the circuit? Up through Toulon he will be heading, as there the Ginetta loses out. Jan Kittil goes through. So the Brands Hatch winner gains a place, moves himself up ahead of the now struggling Ginetta. Through goes Alain Ferté in the Alpine, 7th overall, now leading in the Pro-Am competition. Opposition in Pro-Am is from the 718 Cayman of Ivan Jakoma, so that car is hustling on behind. and 15 Ginetta starting to drop away now with these braking issues, which are translating into not doing the tyres any good either. So up front, Simon Knapp leading Ewan Mackay by 4 seconds. That's the margin between them. And 31 there you can see is the Aurélien Panis Mercedes, which is about to make a move against the Ginetta. Now the race leader will be through again. And Simon Knapp 4 seconds to the good. We've got 1 minute and 20 seconds in the race. It's a 2:15, so I think he's going to be on his last lap, depending on where he is in relation really to the clock, because we're looking at the cars here for the bottom end of the top 10 coming over the line. We need to see where Knapp is in relation to the clock, relation to the flag as well. So there is second place BMW of Ewan Mackay. So can Simon Knapp squeeze one more lap out of this, or is he going to lift a little bit on the last of this lap? It's declared as the final lap, so he will take the checkered flag this time. And Simon Knapp leads Ewan Mackay, with Mark van der Aar over half a minute now away from the race leader. So a great job done here by Simon Knapp. Comes through, race leader from in second spot, Ewan Mackay. And the clock, with 20 seconds upon it, will hit 0 just about as the leader comes out of the last corner. And the checkered flag is set to be waved then. Simon Knapp from Ewan Mackay, first and second. So 25 up towards the flag. Simon Knapp and Alec Udell set to win this 5th race in the GT4 European Series. It's a win for BMW. The flag is waved for MDM Motorsports for Alec Udell. Simon Knapp brings the car home victorious. And the margin that he has over Ewan Mackay and Ricardo van der Ende is 3.4 seconds. That's the margin between the top two. Third should go the way of Mark van der Aar ahead of Akhil Rabindra. And then Jamie van der Belt set for 5th place, but still they come pouring through. So Mark van der Aar will be here in a moment. Quite a long way back, in fairness. .35 is going to win in Pro-Am. Alain Ferté. And so, as Mark van der Aar takes 3rd, Akhil Rabindra 4th, Jamie van der Belt 5th, Reinhard Koffler 6th after the car's early spin, Alain Ferté 7th, just ahead of Ivan Jakama. So Alpine defeats Porsche in Pro-Am, 9th Jan Kishiel, 10th Aurélien Panis, and then in the Am Cup, it's going to be the Maserati to score the win, because here is Lukas Kreschke bringing the car home. Kreschke set for class honours. And so it's good not only that the car is on the grid, but that their efforts in this first race of their championship, it's going to herald a class win. Up towards the timing line, the car now comes, and Lukas Kreschke and Maciej Marcinovic score victory in the Am Cup at the end of our first GT4 European Series race of the weekend. But an excellent job in the outright as well as Silver Cup standings for Simon Knapp and Alec Udell, Ewan Mackay, Ricardo van der Ende 2nd, Mark van der Aar, Koen Bogaerts 3rd. Pro-Am won by Alain Ferté and Grégoire de Moustier from Ivan Jakama and Max Busnelli, and 3rd was 1-1-1 of Marius Zug and Gabriele Piana. And then in the AMs, it was 77 of Lukas Kreschke and Maciej Marcinovic, from 56, Christian Danner and Bernhard Laber, and then 3rd was Clement Seiler and Pascal Bachmann. So the cars will head to the pit lane, Parc Fermé, and then the celebrations can get underway for Simon Knapp and Alec Udell. So Simon Knapp and Alec Udell take their first win of the season in the BMW M4, the Eckeris Run car, 2nd of Ewan Mackay and Ricardo van der Ende. And then for third place, Mark van der Aar and Koen Bogaerts. Taking fourth, Akhil Rabindra, along with Florian Thomas. Fifth, the street art racing car of Julien Darin and Jamie van der Balk. And then in sixth, Reinhard Koffler and Patrick Niederhauser, recovering from an early spin. Seventh, Alain Ferté and Grégoire de Mustier to win in Pro-Am from Ivan Iacoma and Max Busnelli. Jan Kischiel and Max Kubel, 9th, and then Aurélien Panis and Stéphane Lemeray, 10th, ahead of Luc Ibanez and Max Lobe's Ginetta. 12th, Marius Zug and Gabriele Piana's BMW, another of those M4s. Next, Paolo Melloni and Max Trassoldi, ahead of Phillip Baker's Mercedes, shared with Marc Basseng, and then it's Luki Treps and Marcus Pavarud down in 15th place. 16th, after a spin, after contact, James Holder and Matt George, ahead of Michael Ben-Yahir and Charlie Fagg. Lukas Kreschke and Maciej Marcinovic, 18th, and winning the AM Cup from Bernhard Laber and Christian Danner, with Pascal Bachmann and Clement Seiler 20th overall, third in the class. And have a look further down, because Nicky Leutwiler's Porsche 23rd, Eric Mouet and David Loger pitted early, 25th. 2 drive-throughs for Dominic Schrammel and Jan Reinig, so that's a car, that Mercedes a long way down. But then you get to those that were really in the wars, and a lot of them didn't finish. Only 27 got to the end, so we lost the Fiona James, Tom Wood, Aston Martin that was going so well. We lost Phil Hill, we lost Nikolai Müller-Madsen's Audi, David Griesner, we lost Matt Cowley, Abraham Okiai, a whole wave of cars that sadly had problems, some even before the race started. Benjamin Lariche pulling off on that formation lap, remember. So very happy race winner, Simon Knapp into the pit lane. Former single-seater racer, we saw him in the early days of what was the Blancpain Endurance Series in a Ferrari, as well as in BMWs, but Simon Knapp specialises in GT4 BMWs, and underlining the point, Alec Udell is delighted with a win.
Yeah, you too, dude. Good job. Nice pass, nice pass.
A nice pass, says Alec Udell, and it was indeed, as the rest of the drivers, including Alain Ferté, get to Parc Fermé. Alain Ferté now into his late 50s, hence being graded bronze. And that gets him into Pro-Am. Grégoire de Mustier, young co-driver, but Alain, remember, Tourist Trophy winner in 1988 with Andy Rouse in the European Touring Car Championship in the Calibre Sierra. Very, very happy man. But let's hear from our race winners, Simon Knapp and Alec Udell. Very happy indeed, and they're with Dakota.
Guys, a massive congratulations. That was an absolutely epic race. Alec, the smile on your face says it all.
Yeah, it's just, I think we've had this performance capable in us at multiple events this year so far, so it's really nice to finally live up to what our potential is. We had a hard-fought time at the first couple events, but for me, coming in and my first time at all these tracks, so just very excited we can make it happen today here at Paul Ricard. We've got more work to do tomorrow.
Simon, I bet you're happy with a French success on a French track, yes? Very happy?
Yes, very happy. A great performance from Alec. The fight with the BMW Acres was funny. And well, great.
You're absolutely speechless. A job well done, guys. Go collect your trophy. Thanks.
So the Dutchman Simon Knapp, the American Alec Udell take the race win. They'll go to the podium very shortly. And an excellent job done. We'll see what pans out tomorrow with the grid based on the other drivers' qualifying time. Simon Knapp's time doing the grid setting for tomorrow. So a look back at the highlights of the first GT4 European Series race, with 1 or 2 drivers being done for an untidy start, others then running wide and gaining an advantage by straight lining the chicane, others then going wide at senior, including the Ginetta, including also the KTM of Patrick Niederhauser, and then mayhem broke out coming towards the end of the lap. Andy Merritt being turned sideways and that car not rejoining. Then Niederhauser himself was harpooned by Marius Zug, as Dominic Schrammel tried to battle his way into the mix as well, but ended up being given a drive-through penalty for going off the circuit, and then another drive-through was to follow later in the race. For the lead, though, it was Ricardo van der Ende versus Alec Udell in the early stages. Ricardo van der Ende had an advantage of 3 seconds at the end of lap 1. That was soon eroded. He was then able to defend that, never get away, but on the second part of the race, he lost the advantage. More battles raged on track, with Charlie Fagg losing track position. After the stops, it was the white Equus BMW still in the lead. Ewan Mackay keeping at bay Simon Knapp, but not for long, because Knapp hauled himself into contention, made the move on the inside at Toulon to the delight of co-driver Alec Udell, as then more drama broke out for Phil Hill. That put him out of the race going into the exit of Toulon. And on track, Simon Canap started to build the advantage over the white Equus BMW behind in the hands of Ewan Mackay. At the checkered flag, it was the first win of the year for the BMWs, for the MDM Motorsport team. A race win for Simon Canap and Alec Udell. So the drivers will shortly make their way up to the podium, and then they do it all again tomorrow. For the drivers, very, very challenging conditions, not in terms of the rain, but in terms of the heat that they have to cope with, because locked inside closed cars, especially on a busy circuit like this where you're working for the majority of the time, it is quite hard work, but a good job done by Simon Canap. But fascinating to see so many retirements. We know that a fast circuit like this can be punishing on cars, but a few with damage as well. But mechanical woes are a bigger concern. So looking up from the pit lane, the podium is being made ready. And very shortly the drivers will be there, ready for the celebrations at the end of this first of the two GT4 European Series races of the weekend. There are the drivers. And for MDM, a 1-3, Simon Canap and Alec Udell the winners. Mark van der Aar and Koen Bogaerts taking third place. They're the Maserati drivers, Lukas Kreski and Maciej Marcinovic. And Simon Canap heads up the steps to get to the podium. The series manager, trying to orchestrate everybody to be in the right place, and then they can be called forward, ready for the podium ceremony. So everybody ready, and with an AM, a Pro-Am and the Silver Cup, which is the same as overall podiums to undertake, it's going to be the top three within the Silver Cup, first of all. So Mark van der Aar and Koen Bogaerts take third place. For second place, having led the bulk of the race early on, Ricardo van der Ende and Ewan Mackay. The Equus BMW drivers step forward, and then a maiden victory of the season for the American driver Alec Udell and the Dutchman Simon Canap. Up they come, Alec Udell and Simon Canap, the race winners. And for MDM Motorsports, the national anthem now of the winning team. So the drivers on the podium. Now the trophies can be presented for our overall and Silver Cup drivers. In a fifth note once more, steps forward and hands over the third place trophies then to Koen Bogaerts and Mark van der Aar. Then for second place, Ricardo van der Ende and Ewan Mackay, his best finish of the season. Ricardo gets multiple kisses. Ewan Mackay is a little less forthcoming. And then for the race winners, Alec Udell, and with him, Simon Canap. So good for the Dutch, with Dutch representation across all three driver combinations on the podium. Everyone together for photographs. Alec Udell and Simon Canap win race one in the GT4 European Series here at Paul Ricard. So very, very happy drivers, and they will make their way off the podium and go and contemplate what to do for the rest of the evening, because the circuit's going to be busy, but they don't race again until tomorrow for race 2 in the GT4 European Series.
The next podium will be for the category of pros. Sitting one full driver and one arm driver. We are ready. Third place, troisième position.
So in Pro-Am, a win for the Redel Competition Alpine of Grégoire de Moustier and Alain Ferté. Third in the Pro-Am competition, though, the RN Vision STS, Gabriele Piana, Marius Zug, BMW. Second place to the Pro Sport Performance Aston Martin of Florian Thomas and Akhil Rabindra. The young Indian driver, Akhil Rabindra, going very nicely now that he's made this adaptation to GT cars. And then for the top step, 35, Grégoire de Moustier and Alain Ferté. Alain Ferté is enthusiastic as ever he was, still loving his racing. And more to the point, perhaps, enjoying being competitive. So the national anthem played, and for the Redel Competition team, the drivers stand on the top step of the podium. Trophies are presented. But Alain Ferté and Grégoire de Moustier are delighted with that and take the trophies as race winners here at Paul Ricard. So the champagne is being threatened. One or two drivers leg it from the podium, and that leaves us with the AM class to look at, where Maciej Marcinovic and Łukasz Kreszki poles are the class winners. So off the podium are Pro-Am victors. The championship officials now set to dress the podium in readiness for the AM celebrations, I should say. Third in the AMs, Pascal Bachmann and Clément Zeiler. For second, Christian Danner, you saw a moment ago, and Bernhard Laber. As there, Bachmann and Clément Zeiler step forward. And then for the top step as the class winners, Maciej Marcinovic and Łukasz Kreszki.
The Team GT with Bernhard Laber and Christian Danner.
Christian Danner with the grey hair steps forward, still enjoying his racing and still competitive. So Christian Danner taking second in class. And there, Łukasz Kreszki and Maciej Marcinovic onto the top step of the podium. All smiles, the Maserati drivers victorious in the AM Cup here within the GT4 European Series. So race 2 coming up tomorrow, which we look forward to. But for now, from the GT4 European Series and David Addison, it's goodbye.